Good day, everyone. Good day, Mom Lalot. I am Almajadi Mongotar, and today I'm going to talk about the two fallacies that was assigned to me, and it was the weak analogy or the false analogy and the ad hominem circumstantial. So, before all, let's start with knowing what is fallacy. So, a fallacy is the use of invalid or otherwise faulty reasoning in the construction of an argument. So some fallacies may be committed intentionally or to manipulate or persuade by deception. So others may be committed unintentionally because of human limitations such as carelessness, cognitive or social biases, and ignorance. So or potentially as the inevitable consequence of the limitations of language and understanding of language. This includes ignorance of the right reasoning standard, but also ignorance of relevant properties of the context. So let's start with the weak analogy. So what is a weak analogy or false analogy? So false analogy, like the name suggests, is a logical fallacy in which someone argues on the basis of a faulty or weak analogy. It is common type of error as people frequently use misleading and inaccurate analogies to support their ideas and views. It is also known by a number of different names like weak analogy, false metaphor, and faulty comparisons. So, the fallacy of false analogy arises when one attempts to prove or disapprove a claim using an analogy that is not suitable for the situation. It occurs either because one puts too much weight on the similarities, thus reasoning that the two cases being compared must be analogous in the respects to, or is unaware of the ways that they are different. So let's start with an example of a false analogy. So let's say a watch. A watch is a complex and precise device that is designed by an intelligent watchmaker. Similarly, the universe is an extremely complex system and thus must be the product of intelligent design. So, when you hear about this example, you think that this is right, this is true, because it was constructed in a very strong manner or in a very smart manner. But actually, this is fallacious because the conclusion is drawn from a few similar aspects between a watch and the universe, which are in reality more different from each other than alike. So, this is more famously known as the watchmaker analogy, which is an argument formed by William Bailey for the existence of God. So, other examples is that you don't believe in ghosts because you never seen one. That doesn't make any sense since you surely believe that molecules and black holes are real thing even though you never seen them with your own eyes. So the ghosts and the black holes or the black holes and molecules are two different things, but they are similar in a way that we haven't seen those things. So it is fallacious or it is invalid to construct a conclusion basing only on the two similarities of a two kind. So the next fallacy is the ad hominem circumstantial. But first, let's know what is the ad hominem fallacy. So, the ad hominem fallacy is the fallacy of attacking the character or circumstances of an individual who is advancing a statement or an argument instead of seeking to disapprove the truth of the statement or the soundness of the statement. So often, the fallacy is characterized simply as a personal attack. However, a personal attack is a claim, not a fallacy. Thus, a character or a circumstantial attack simpliciter is not evaluated as an ad hominem argument or an ad hominem fallacy. So the ad hominem circumstantial is the fallacy that someone's belief has not been proved or mistaken because that person's position is motivated by actions or personal circumstances which most likely bias that person's judgment. So the ad hominem circumstantial is suggesting that um, the person who is making the argument is biased or predisposed to take a particular stance, and therefore the argument is necessarily invalid. So let's say, for an example, a salesman trying to sell a customer a car, and the salesman would say, "This car gets better than average gas mileage and is one of the most reliable cars according to consumer reports." And then the customer would reply, "No, I doubt it. You obviously just want to sell me that car." So this is an example of ad hominem circumstantial. So the fact that the salesman has a vested interest in selling the car to the customer, it does not mean that the salesman is lying. So he may be, but this is not something you can conclude solely on his interests. It is reasonable to assume that salespeople sell the products and services they do because they believe in them. So an ad hominem circumstantial is made when one tries to refute a claim on the basis of how the person come up with that claim, or what consequences that claim may have for that person, and hence what interest that person might have in that claim being true. So the circumstantial ad hominem is kind of explaining a way technique. So let's say it's like a person, the basic or the most basic arguments, or the starting sentence of a ad hominem circumstantial is that, of course, he would say that because, or say, thus the suggestion is that this person is only saying this because, namely, that the person either really has no good reason to believe that, or maybe more to the point, has a circumstantial reason to believe this rather than an actual reason. And that would be all. I hope you have learned something or understand what I was discussing about the ad hominem circumstantial and the weak analogy. Thank you.